So some Pharisees survived the temple destruction of 70 A.D. and they went on to become rabbis, and they adapted and merged, assimilated with the Roman Empire. But they had assimilated prior to Jesus too. It's what made Jesus rather angry too, was the assimilation they were doing. Because it showed a lack of faith. It did. But they were too in their legalistic mindset to understand. But yeah, they had an actual good relationship with the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire, the early Roman Empire. They had diplomacy, legal privileges, and mutual benefits. I mean, none of that pleasing God, but can you see where Paul's mindset came from? Because that was Paul, what his writings, which were in contradiction to what Jesus was saying. Paul was saying, oh no, God institutes these governing authorities for you. Yeah, no, Jesus was saying, give to Caesar's what is Caesar's, give to God what is God's. And at no time did Jesus mean, I want you to divide that loyalty between the two. God will not share the stage with any Roman Empire church now or in the past or any of this. So it's all been the same problem. The Pharisees and the Roman Empire going after Christians. This doesn't mean all Jews. That's why I hate to even bring up the Jews, because you see how ugly people get about it. But there is a problem here, because the rabbis, which were the Pharisees, this was after the temple destruction, so after Jesus, they borrowed from from Greek and Roman elements like case law, philosophy, marriage protections, and even maternal Jewish identity determination to sustain Judaism. Babylonian rabbis recast Rome as a symbolic rival to Israel in the Talmudic traditions, sustaining its image as an enemy despite living under Persian influence. Then there was a conflict in 132 to 135, and that led to some restrictions, more restrictions by Rome on them. But generally, Rome tolerated Judaism via exemptions from emperor worship and synagogue protections. Rabbis debated assimilating Roman institutions like baths and markets, scorning some as immoral while selectively adopting others. Okay, so can you see? This is why, yeah, Jesus came when he did. He didn't want nobody trusting in God anymore. But yeah, they had a pretty positive relationship with the Roman Empire. So then do you see Constantine had a problem, because Constantine pretended that he was Christian. That's what he did. Because what mattered to Constantine? Power. And what was happening is fear was not working on the Christians in Rome to keep power. So the next thing you have to do is you have to become the church so that you can maintain your power while not wanting, because they knew something was going on with these people, because what was giving these people the strength to say, we're not doing any more of your Roman Empire sacrifices to all your deity gods? The Holy Spirit in here, it was spreading. They all knew it. They knew it. They knew, like, oh, our fear tactics aren't working. All of these people are willing to die. Like, it didn't stop with the apostles. No. So you knew you couldn't just go throughout the world killing everybody. So the next best thing you do is put on your robes and say, we're Christian now. Come to Rome. Yeah, and it was never Christian. And then they based their entire church structure, which Jesus was already building the church. It wasn't a structure. So Judaism enjoyed a generally positive alliance-based relationship with Rome. Great. The Sadducees, they ended up disappearing. Pharisees numbered around 6,000 pre-destruction. a small but resilient group whose views on resurrection, afterlife, and Messiah persisted, merging with broader Jewish practices. They ended sectarianism, shaping Judaism amid Roman rule. So part of their arguments of Jesus, and all of these are ridiculous. I'm sorry, they just are. So one of them is the viewing Christian claims of Jesus's divinity or Trinity as idolatry and incompatible with God's absolute unity. Excuse me, I just really want to say this. Why do you think that God has to get your permission to come in any form he wants? It's still the same God. Jesus was the same God. So there isn't an idolatry problem here. It's just you don't understand that there's a form of spirit and then there's a form of a human body. It's a difference in forms. Same God. But you didn't want to see it. You know why? Because you were too much in your legal mindset. You too much wanted power. You didn't like the way God wanted to do it. This is why God didn't want people taken from the tree, because then everybody wants to play him instead of follow him. So he bypasses all of you and says, I'm going to put the Holy Spirit in the people that can receive me. And then, you know what? Good luck to all of you. And then your arguments go on to say, so you're wrong about idolatry. But then you say Jesus failed to fulfill prophecies like rebuilding the third temple. What are you talking about? It's an ongoing construction. It's just not the construction you wanted. You wanted your little structure like Rome has there in your little place. This is how God's supposed to do it. And God came and said, no, I'm not doing it that way. I'm God. I can do whatever I want. I don't need man's permission to do things the way that I want to do them. But never does that cross any of your minds. No, too much in your legal. It's just like the Christians. It's the book. It's the book. If it's not in the book, it's the book. It's like, not getting it. Okay. And then the other argument is that Jesus didn't usher world peace or gather Jewish exiles. What are you talking about? What happened after World War II? I think he did it. Yeah, he did it. How do you think he did that? How did he move it? You know how he did it? I'll tell you how he did it. And I'm no legal expert, but I know the Spirit of God. And that's what did it. The Spirit of God in people and God influencing those people that I want you to get my people back to Israel. Yes, that's how he did it. So all of your arguments fail. But you want to stay in the Old Testament and pretend in your pretty little heads that Jesus wasn't God. And you think that, what do you think is going to happen then? Because you're wrong about this. I mean, I'm not one to go at, believe whatever you want. It's just that you should have known who he was. But you can't receive his Spirit because you wanted it to be your way, not God's way. But you had your way when you, with Eve, decided to take from the tree that God said not to. So then, when everybody fails in that area, it might be a good idea to try to humble oneself and say, you know what, let's do it God's way instead of our way. Because what has your way led to? You end up adapting to the government, and that's where Paul got these ridiculous ideas that God does not support. God doesn't want you going to war with the government, but he most certainly did not want you to assimilate the way they did. Because what that shows then is that you have lack of faith in God. You don't trust that God is there. You don't trust that God will handle these problems for you. So instead, you step in like man does all the time and says, no, we have to do this. We have to do this because, and it's like, as I say all the time in every video, get out of God's way. Just get out of his way. Surrender and get out of his way. He does not need man's help. This is neurocircus, okay? This is the reason the Roman Constantine decided that he was going to have to become Christian, not because he wanted to, not because he ever did, not because that Roman Catholic Church has ever been Christian. No, it's all been BS. Just know the Holy Spirit of God and you'll know. But it was because the Christians were overpowering them, not trying to overtake them, but they wouldn't do their sacrifices. So they were willing to die for God.